Welcome back to CIE's How to AV over at the Security Event 2023, and it's a great honour to have been joined by Figen Murray to talk about the introduction this year of Martyn's Law. Let's talk about why Martyn's Law is coming into being and all of the work that you've done, and it's all really in honour of your son Martyn, and because of the sad loss of Martyn in the Manchester Arena bombings, isn't it?
Yeah, so very sadly, obviously we lost our son Martyn at the Manchester Arena attack in May 2017, and in the first year nothing much happened because I was just deep in grief, and then 18 months after we went to a small music concert in Manchester, and I falsely assumed for some reason that, especially after the arena attack and especially in Manchester, there'd be security everywhere at venues. And when we got there, nobody even checked our entrance tickets, never mind our bags or anything else. There was no security whatsoever, and that shocked me deeply to the point where I actually did some research into security at venue, came across the government's contest document, realised to my horror that security at venues is literally only a recommendation, and I thought, I need to change that. I just have to change it, which is why in the end I started a government petition to bring about Martyn's Law.
So your background in security really helped, of course, Figen, because you had none whatsoever.
I have none whatsoever.
And you have really researched this and done an enormous amount of work to learn what is being done, what isn't being done, and what we should be doing in order to protect the public in buildings. So tell us about all of the work that you've done from the ground up.
Well, for a kick-off, like you said, I knew nothing about terrorism or security. It was just simply not on my radar. So one of the things I always believe in is to know how to deal with a problem. You need to educate yourself about it. And the same applied to terrorism. I knew nothing about terrorism. So I decided, foolishly, it was really hard work, but I decided to do a 2-year Masters in Counter-Terrorism. And although it was hard work, I'm glad I did it because I am so much more knowledgeable. But obviously I also had to inquire and learn about security. And again, I now have a vast amount of friends in the security sector. I'm far more knowledgeable. There's a lot of gaps in my knowledge as well, but I am constantly, daily learning more.
And it really is about taking it from simple guidance and recommendations to it being legislative.
Yes.
And it's all of that changes because of the work that you've done. So can you tell us about the process of the work that you've done so far?
Well, first of all, it started with a theatre visit where there was no search, and after that I decided to set up a government petition to try and get the general public on board to put security in place. Obviously, it was a government petition, and eventually other people joined who believed that it was the right thing. Brendan Cox, whose wife was murdered the year before Martyn was killed, he joined the petition, and he introduced me to Nick Aldworth, who at the time was working for Scotland Yard for Protect and Prepare. And the three of us then eventually sat in government at the Home Office and talked to the first security minister we met. And that sort of got the ball rolling, really.
So tell us, I know things are moving on really well. I know that you don't expect in the timeline for it to be legislation this year, but an expectation early in the new year.
Yes, I hope so. And what I've realised is when I set up the petition, that usually takes 6 months and then it stops. When I did that 4.5 years ago, I didn't anticipate still talking about this 4 years on and still having to run the petition, campaign. But you know, I've learned that in government things don't happen quickly. I've learned to be patient. I've learned to expect little, and when more happens than I expected, it's a bonus. So yeah, I expect the government to work slow on this.
And it's kind of broken down into 5 specific requirements as to what that legislation is going to need from public buildings, from public spaces, and what our responsibilities will be. So can you explain those 5 requirements for us?
Well, what we tried to do it as simple as possible. When we saw the Home Office, when we sat in the Home Office for the first time, Nick Aldworth actually came up with the written format of Martyn's Law, which is what we were seeking, that people are the general public who work at venues, everybody who works in security, has this very basic ACT e-learning training in the very least. Obviously, the higher the positions, the more training is available, also free. So we're asking people to do a risk assessment, both inside and outside the building. You have to do it for health and safety anyway, so it's important to do it for risks. And we're asking people to mitigate any risks that are identified. They can be big changes, but they can be small changes as well. And then we're asking people to tell their staff and ask staff, do you know where to evacuate or evacuate? Do you know what to do in a terrorist attack? Do you know what to do with a suspicious package? It's all that training. And finally, we're asking for the bigger venues that the local authorities are prepared and work with venues. That's basically Martyn's Law in a nutshell. Yes, so Martyn's Law will be in 2 tiers. One of them will be the standard tier for venues 100 plus capacity. They'll be like the Starbucks, the Costa Coffees, the bigger ones, the theatres, the big restaurants. And it's really important because and the reason why we wanted to include smaller venues is, apart from the arena attack, all other attacks happened at smaller venues. So therefore, we felt it's absolutely essential that smaller venues need to know what to do. Staff need to be trained, and the reason we are asking for that is the terrorism landscape has changed. They don't advertise attacks anymore. People get radicalized in their bedrooms and then go out and carry out an attack. So attacks can literally happen anytime, anywhere, any place, which is why smaller venues and the staff need to know what to do. And then the bigger venues, 800 plus capacities, most of those venues already know what to do, but because there is no legislation, some do what they need to do, some don't. So it's very hit and miss, so we need that to be more effective. We need to have that mandated so that everybody does it.
How can we start to prepare? Are there resources already out there that we can be using?
Yes, there's lots of resources out there. Like I said, the Protect UK app should be downloaded by any grown-up in the UK. It's so much information, there's so much training available. There are CTSAs that can be contacted who will come and look at your premises and help you with that. There's loads of information available. Some cities like Manchester are already making Martyn's Law as part of their licensing agreement. So Manchester is very good already at putting on monthly ACT training courses to prepare the nighttime economy initially, but then hotels, restaurants, businesses got on board, retailers got on board. So Manchester is very good at training people, and everything is voluntarily done, so other cities could follow suit.
And then there is also, of course, a large amount of education that's going to be needed to be done with the general public as well.
Once the legislation comes in, there will be more security measures everywhere, and if you don't tell the public, it'll cause confusion amongst the public. But also, there's no point bringing in legislation to keep the general public safe if the general public don't know about it. I would like the general public to be informed enough to call out bad security, a bit like somebody suggested, like a TripAdvisor, that there's pressure on social media and venues tighten up their security because of that. I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing. I fully, I thought once the campaign is done, I can disappear again and hide. Unfortunately, I realised I can't do that. I'm going to have to hang around a bit because I don't think it's smooth sailing. I fully expect teething problems. I fully expect some pushback. Not everybody is on board with Martyn's Law, and I get that. Change is difficult. People don't do change easily. So there's going to be a period of embedment. So I would like everybody to support each other in the industry. share good experience, share good practice, support the people who don't get it right, and just everybody work together and help put pressure on the government a bit as an industry. I can't do it all on my own.
Figen, it is not often we get inspirational people like yourselves. Thank you so much for joining us today and for telling us your story.
Thank you.
We will have a lot more information on Martyn's Law coming your way on How to AV very, very soon. Join us again at howtoav.tv.